Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for this episode, we're going to continue to talk about customer prepayment. So in the previous episode, we have covered how to record the customer prepayment if we don't issue any invoice. And for this episode, we want to talk about the step-by-step process to manage the prepayment with invoice generation. So again, I'm going to start with a high-level business process review, and then we can deep dive in the system to show you the step-by-step process. So let's get started with the process. So very straightforward as the previous one. We're going to use the same example. ABC company, who is mainly selling cars to generate revenue. And let's say we just closed a deal of $50,000 selling that car. And according to the company policy, we need to collect this $5,000 down payment or deposit to reserve the car. And to do that, the company policy also requires to issue a customer prepayment invoice to send it to the customer so they know exactly how much they need to pay out as the deposit. So in the system, or from business perspective, what are the key steps to achieve this? So let's have a quick look here. First, they need to record the sales of total amount of $50,000. And then from there, they will need to generate a prepayment invoice and then send it to the customer of this $5,000 before they can collect the payment, right? And then if we continue, the third step, once the customer receives this prepayment invoice, they know actually they need to pay out this $5,000 deposit to ABC company. And once they receive that payment, ABC company is going to record this payment collection. And then step 4 actually is when the car is ready, they will need to pick, pack, ship. That's basically the standard process for a sales order to send out the car to the end customer. And finally, what is going to happen is the customer will need to have another invoice including the remaining amount that they own the ABC company once receiving that car, right? So that is going to be the $45,000 as the remaining final invoice. So that's it. That's the whole process. And now, what's the mapping to the technical steps in F&O? We can have a quick look just to confirm. So from F&O side, right? Again, you have some prerequisites or configurations or setups you need to complete before. So 3 things. First, we want to make sure there's a prepayment GL account created for the customer deposit. That's the same as a previous scenario. And then secondly, you also want to have a service item called prepayment where you can use on your sales order. Or if you don't use the specific service item concept in F&O, according to your design, it's totally fine. You can use a sales category in this case instead of a service item. And then third point, we also need to create a posting. It's not a posting profile, but through the inventory setup, we need to make sure the prepayment item or the sales category will point to a specific GL account for posting purposes. So now let's have a quick look at the system, what those 3 points look like. So I'm going to switch to F&O. All right, now let's first check we have an account created for the customer deposit. So to do that, I have to go to General Ledger, Main Accounts, and then I will be able to use this filter and search for customer deposit. So we have this 212160 created. Great, first point checked. Now, second step, we want to make sure there is an item or a sales category created. So I want to demo the item scenario. So let's check we have a released product called Customer Prepayment. So to do that, I will get into Product Information Management and release the product. I can also search for the product name starting with customer. So you see we have this customer prepayment item. The product type is service, etc. So there are some additional configurations on the item, like the dimension groups or site or etc. So we're not going into further detail on that part, but now you know that we have this item. We can continue further. For the third point check, where you want to see there's a posting account associated. So to check that, it's actually within the inventory module, and you can also search from the search bar. It's called posting type. All right, so from here, enter sales order. We want to know which account this prepayment should be posted to, right? So let's start with this revenue account. Now you see for the specific item, customer prepayment, it points to our posting profile, 212160 customer deposit, right? So now with all those 3 points checked, let's go back to the PowerPoint just to see what are the detailed steps we need to run. So let me bring this up. So in terms of transactions, first step, very clear and straightforward. We need a sales order with 3 lines. So what are those 3 lines? First line is your physical item. If you order a car, then that's going to be the line with item car, right? With a total amount of 50,000. And then you're going to have a second line that is used for prepayment service item. And then the third line, we actually will need to have a negative prepayment service item line as well as the deduction. So the deduction part is mainly used when you do your final invoice. You want to make sure you exclude what the customer has already paid you, right? So that's the 3 lines. And then once you have that sales order created, we will be able to generate your prepayment invoice directly from the sales order by deleting the physical item line and the negative prepayment line. So I'm going to show you how that looks like. And now once you have your prepayment invoice, you will be able to send it to the end customer to collect that payment. So that drives us to step 3, record prepayment collection once ABC company receives that amount, right? So that's going to be through a customer payment journal. And then you're going to call out that prepayment invoice from sales order at the payment step. So that makes the settlement automatic. And if we continue, the step 4 will be the regular pick, pack, ship of the sales order. And when you generate the picking list and posting the packing slip, you actually remove the slip that has a deduction line because it's not relevant, right? But for the final step, step 5, where you need to generate the final invoice, including the $45,000, you want to include that negative prepayment line as a deduction to have the net balance amount of this customer for the remaining $45,000, right? So high level, this is a technical mapping to what we just reviewed from process perspective. Now let's see in the system how we play this out. I'm going to switch back to F&O. And to start with, we have to create a sales order. So enter accounts receivable. I'm going to pick all sales orders here, create a new one, and let's pick a customer account. All right, so from the drop down, I'm going to select Forest Wholesales, just as an example here. And I will continue to create those 3 lines, right? Okay, so first line item, we said it's going to be the product line, the physical one, right? So let's say in our scenario, I want to pick this example, Service Pro. So I pick the physical item line, and it's going to update automatically the sales price. All right, let's have a check here. So total 1900, right? And now I'm going to add additional line used for my prepayment. Since now we're using the prepayment as a service item, we will be able to find from this drop-down list. Otherwise, you can also use the sales category if the item is not relevant for your design, right? So here, I'm going to pick customer prepayment. And now at the unit price here, I will be able to type in the customer deposit amount. So let's say 700, right? And then that's it, that's the second line. Now let's go back and create the third line. again, we can use the same customer prepayment, or you can also create another item called the deduction, but I just tend to keep it simple by using the same customer prepayment item. And then the quantity here is going to be negative. And then the unit price, that should match exactly what you have in line 2, the prepayment, right? So I will put 700. That gives me a total of minus 700. So if you do the math at the sales order level, in total, we have the physical item costing 1900. And those 2 additional lines will help us as a workaround to generate prepayment invoice. So now I have everything entered. I will confirm my sales order. All right, let me confirm this. So there might be a warning message talking about the return lots. We can ignore this. This is just a warning regarding the customer credit. It's not really preventing the posting here. So now we have the sales order confirmed. We can continue with the prepayment invoice generation. So enter invoice. I'm going to generate a prepayment invoice. And what is important here is, so for those 3 lines, we need to remove the physical item line together with the negative customer prepayment line here, you can see. So only keeping the prepayment line. So the system is going to pick that 700 to generate the invoice. So I can click on OK. That is going to generate an invoice of this prepayment 700. Right, now let's quickly check. So if I go invoice, and then we can see voucher. All right, so now you see we have this accounts receivable versus customer deposit. All right, now let's move on to the next step. So you have your prepayment invoice generated. We will be able to record the deposit as customer payment once you receive the payment from the customer, right? So to do that, we will create a customer payment journal here and click on new. Go to lines. So on this payment journal, I'm going to call out the prepayment invoice. That way the system is going to automatically match those 2 transactions or settle. So here I will select my customer accounts, and you will be able to see the settle transactions where I can pick my invoice here. So in my case, that's going to be this 700. All right, now let's move to the right side. There's some cash discount involved, but overall you see that's the invoice we selected, right? So now we have the bank as offset, payment method of check. I'll change that to cash just to make it simple, and then we can post this payment journal. All right, now we completed the payment step. So the next step is going to be your normal pick, pack, ship once the car is ready to send it to your customer, right? So I have to go back to my sales order and continue pick and pack. So let's do the picking list. Again, this is our total remaining, right? Net amount 1900. Okay, let's continue. So now I can continue with the picking list registration. And here I will select this line, enter functions. I'll do update selected. All right, and save it. So I can go back. It shows completed, right? So now I will be able to post my packing slip. Okay, so when I scroll down, you see we have this item line showing up. That's great. We don't need to delete anything else, right? So we basically just let the warehouse team know now we need to pick and pack and ship. Okay, so now I complete this step. The final step is going to generate the final invoice deducting the down payment the customer paid. So again, that's under invoice. We're going to generate a new invoice. And here we need to select both the item line together with the negative prepayment line to get the total net amount, the remaining, right? So when I scroll down in the lines, you see automatically it applies the item line, Service Pro, together with the negative customer prepayment. And from there, I can continue to do my invoice. All right, so now it has been posted, my invoice. We can go ahead and have a quick check here. So that's going to be the second one, 1200 for the remaining, right? And as a final step, you will be able to send this out to the customer. And once you receive the remaining payment, and continue to create a new customer payment journal to record the remaining 1200. And now you have seen the step-by-step process of customer prepayment where you need to generate a prepayment invoice. I hope this is helpful, and please comment below if you want to see some other contents or any feedback on those videos. Happy to see what you guys are looking for. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next episode.